This is a new edition of Story Talkies, and today we are going to talk to our esteemed guests and friends. And the interesting thing about today's guests is that they are not women entrepreneurs, they are not male entrepreneurs, they are a couple entrepreneurs. And that's how I would like to introduce Sonia and Vishwas to you. They do some great work, but they call themselves GoodWorks. So that's an interesting name that they have for their venture. We are all aware of the kind of good work that they are doing. They have a GoodWorkLab, which is into IT products and services, and they have GoodWork Co-works, where they are creating really amazing places to work in. So, with this, I begin today's Story Talkies, and today we are talking about the startup journey. They have been very successful startup and they have done multiple businesses. So, we learn from them what is the startup journey all about and how important it is to build a strong startup story. So, Vishwas and Sonia, tell us about your entrepreneurship journey, how it began, and what learning that you have that we can take from you, the story about it, the story of your startup.
See, people see success, right? GoodWorkLabs, our GoodWorks group of company, we are running a pretty successful group of companies, but behind that, there was a lot of hard work, and there was the initial failure as well, right? So this is not the first company we started. We met in 2006, and we started a company called jobbyhive.com. It was a great idea. We were getting a lot of traction, but we did not know how to make money, and we failed. Right, we were in our early 20s, a lot of enthusiasm, but we were able to launch a successful product, but yeah, I mean, we were not able to make money, so obviously we were not able to sustain it, and then ultimately we had to shut the shop. And taking those learnings, right, so we had our fair share of learnings, right? So failures should not be seen just as failures, because they teach you a thing or two, definitely. So it was very, very clear to us that no matter how great your product is, how fancy it looks, you always have to see if you are going to sustain yourself, is your product is going to sustain itself, it's going to, if it's going to make money, right? Ultimately, a product has to substantiate a business, right? I mean, it has to contribute to the business, and if it's not a self-sustaining business, then you should not be doing it, right? So that was a learning we had from our first product. So again, positioning is very, very important, right? So we had so both of us, we come from product background, right? We had seen how products are built from ground up. So we saw there is a space in the industry, especially in the service industry, where that product thinking is missing, design thinking was missing, back in 2013. So we created a we identified a space for ourselves, and we thought that it would be great to be product guys in the services space, right? That's what we called ourselves, right? We declared that we are going to be the product guys in the services industry, and I think we were able to do justice to that. Yeah. And so what started in 2013, right, it snowballed into so many different things. So we were able to launch the company successfully, we were able to hire very bright people, we were able to get those customers on board, who shared the same philosophy, who wanted a product kind of quality in their services tech partners, right?
So it's been a phenomenal journey, if you really look at it. And for me personally, I have always been a dreamer. I have been a person who wants to envision grand things, beautiful things, and something that thrills me from bottom of my soul. And then me and Sonia, I think when we met, we kind of created this very unique combination, right? So she has a very practical view of things, and
so he's a dreamer, yeah. I'm a practical dreamer.
So I think we were able to really balance it out so well, and we have made so many mistakes together. So many mistakes
but
together.
We did so many right things
and,
also together.
We have corrected ourselves, and we continue to learn, and we continue to excel in whatever we do. When we started GoodWorks, right, we wanted the name itself to be in such a way that it tells a story. right? So it's all about that. It starts with a story. So when she came up with this GoodWorks, she coined this term. We were thinking about that for months altogether, but one day we had to say like, okay, GoodWorks is a right kind of a thing for us, because that is something that is on the face with
Yeah, and you
tells a
have to live
story.
up to that expectation,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. So
When you
and then we wanted to tell a story from that perspective, okay, who we are, what we are. So we taglined ourselves as like technology superstars, because we just wanted to on the face tell that we are proud of what we are doing. We are going to be we are the best in what we do. And when customers see that we are so confident, and then we have a body of work, and then they kind of the right kind of customers come to us. Like one of the first customers that came to we started working with Flipkart, for example.
We have been doing some research and understanding the startup space, and we understand that at least 1 in 4 people startup fail, not because they have a bad product or a service. It's just because they're not able to articulate it well. The customer is not able to get what is it that this company has to offer. Or not just customers, the influencers, people who are going to be your evangelists, or even the people who you are trying to attract as your team members. So how important it is to be able to articulate your product or service in a way that resonates.
People don't buy the stuff that you're trying to sell them. People buy the story behind it. Okay, it's always like that. If you look at Apple, for example, they sell laptops and stuff, but the way they package it is like they're basically telling you that they're giving you this set of these tools to basically do something awesome, right? To think out of the box and become innovator, right? To become somebody who is going to break the status quo and create something awesome, right? So that is the thing that they are trying to do. It's like with Nike, it's not just a shoes. It's like if you wear Nike, it is like about fitness, right? You create an aura around it. When we started GoodWorks, it was all about creating a DNA, right? So creating a DNA is very, very critical for any company. And when we create that DNA, we told about a few things. Like we wanted to be known for like having the beauty and scalability, innovation, and agility. So these are the 4 pillars of what we do as a company. And that was a philosophy that we transformed into the brand philosophy. That's what we try to do. And anything that we did, okay, to start with a website, for example, how the website looks and feels, to the communication with the customers, or it's with the creating the interview process for the candidates, for example, right? So everything that you do, it has to be thought through ahead of time, so that you give a very unified communication to the as a brand, basically.
For a business, there are two important things, the customers and your team, right? So before customers, comes your team. So whatever story you're trying to create, right, it has to resonate with them, right? So first of all, the problem what you're trying to solve has to be a genuine problem, right? I mean, product has to be for solving a problem. You cannot be creating a problem and then solving a product around it. So if you're solving a genuine product, your storytelling becomes easy. Customer has to feel, you need to empathize with the customers and your team members, for example. If you don't empathize with them, you won't be able to build a brand story around it, right? So you need to understand your customers, you have to understand your employees, your team members very, very well, and then you have to build a story around it. So I think it's very, very important. Empathy is very, very important.
So you talked about the unified view, when unified voice, inside out. What you say to your team, you say to the client, right? There's one story, one brand, one perception. But then what we also see is that, and many a times not because they intend to do, but most of the startups, they go ahead and create a website in one place. They create a brochure somewhere. Start doing podcasts and video casts somewhere. And these are all 4-5 different things which are in the market, but the unified thread doesn't come across. How this half-baked understanding of marketing or a patchwork marketing can be detrimental for your product.
What I see currently in the market, and we also have made this same mistake, we have undervalued marketing. So initially when we started, we did not realize that marketing is very, very important. We had not allocated any budget also to it. So over a period of time, we did realize that marketing is very, very important. You need to standardize, and it cannot be helter skelter, right? I mean, the approach, your approach, people don't understand that they need to create a brand around themselves, right? No matter how good they are, branding exercise is very, very important. We also had not realized it until some time back, and then we realized it, and then we worked on it. you know so branding, let it be in terms of your business or let it be in terms of employer, it's very, very important. Your messages, what you're sending out, let it be in form of social media or a print media or your offline activity, has to be very, very unified, right? So it's important for the businesses to have those unified, business guidelines, for example, branding guidelines. It's very, very important. I see many startups, they don't even know that branding exercise, branding guidelines is something which is very, very important, and they exist. So that knowledge, that exposure itself is not there.
People in India, business in India, they don't really pay attention to user experience and design.
Correct.
So that is a big issue, right? So that's where your brand value goes down totally. So it's the font that you're using, the colors that you're using,
Yes.
the images that
Spacing,
you're
yeah,
spacing, right? So it's basic things. Maybe I think design has to be taught in the school level, right? So
The
I think
design thinking.
design thinking, right? So only
Yeah.
now it's coming up, right?
How important it is for these stories of not just success but of lessons from failure to be imbibed. And therefore, when we create brand stories, or when we create talk about the success that we have, I think does it make sense to be upfront about our mistakes and failures, and does that make a brand or a company much more human?
So any mature product would see the changes what you're making as something positive, right? If you're not changing, if you're not imbibing the learning from the customer feedback, for example, customer feedbacks are very, very important. That means that you're dead, you're no longer relevant. So it's important to embrace the mistakes which you have made, and use that learning to grow further.
What would you talk about the whole business storytelling bit? Because there's a lot of noise about it. Every person is now a storyteller, but then telling a story in a business context is a pretty uphill task. It's not that simple. It's not. So there's a distinction between the kind of general content you churn out and a business storytelling. In your view, how would you distinguish these two things? And what could be the approach that businesses can take?
See, business storytelling is always it is very, first of all, it's very, very critical these days, right? Even if you look at what we have done for our brands, we did multiple things to create that kind of a business storytelling. And so much so that I also started my own show called Ask Vishwas. In the due course, what really happened was I started talking about engineering, for example, products, technology, and then co-working, all of that. So basically what has happened is me as a founder, co-founder of the whole company, and my philosophy that has kind of trickled down to the brand as well. So now the brand philosophy of GoodWorks has been to lead customers from good to great, right? So good to great is a journey that we as a group want to basically handhold the customer, support them in many of these services, be it technology, be it space, be it operations, be it a design, all of this, right? So that is a philosophy that we have created. What is all of this? This is basically business storytelling. Okay, so but it is wrapped around in a very, very simplistic approach where people can actually correlate with it. So that is a kind of a brand that we want to become. We're also creating something called GoodWorks Angel Fund, which we're going to be launching soon, basically. So we are looking at funding about 8 to 10 startups every year, basically, right? So that's where it is. So this is business storytelling that has to be resonating with the spokesperson of the company. It could be founder, VP, anybody for that matter. It needs to resonate with your audience. You need to have that holistical view.
I would like you to share some tips for the startups to make their mark, to be able to sustain the volatile environment that we see around, and don't get overwhelmed by failure, and to be able to tell their story well.
See, for the startups, where what I really believe is, first, I think they need to figure out a problem where they can solve. Right? I always believe that a startup has to be there to serve a purpose in the market, and then next is your USP. The USP has to be either in the way you're delivering a service that already exists, or you create something that doesn't exist. Standing out from the rest of the crowd is critical. So for that, I think creating your brand story, creating a personal branding for the founders is very critical to start with, and then continuing that with the consistent messaging and PR is important, and then getting the right kind of awards, for example, in your industry is important. Getting customer testimonials is important, and also when you're starting it out, if it's a B2B kind of company, having a pilot customer showcasing that there is enough traction, there is a whether your business model is actually working is important.
Being a financially viable business idea,
Yes.
I mean, you need to be a financially viable business. Otherwise, I mean, no matter how many bells and whistles you have, your steam is going to fizzle out. Brand recall is very important. How do you ensure that you have a strong brand recall? By making sure that no matter what you do, let it be your content, let it be your videos, or maybe a canvas, or maybe your store, how it is designed, whatever it is, it has to tell the same story. It has to remind your consumer or end customer that hey, we are there, we exist. So it has to tell the same unified story. So that's what, I mean, in short, is called branding.
That's great insight that you have shared, and thanks a lot for spending your time with us and telling us about your story, the good story you have, and the good story that's going to be great and greater in times to come. So we wish you all the best, and thanks a lot for speaking to Story Talkies. Signing off with the Story Talkies today. We'll be back again with conversations that matter. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Nidhi. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.